When I started out in sales, I bought this watch because I was like taking myself all seriously, and I said to myself, "There's no way I can be taking sales calls or trying to get into online business if I'm not even wearing a watch." But I was broke. Like I had probably €3,000 to my name, €4,000 saved up because I was ready to go all in for a few months. Yeah, learn sales, hopefully get to 10K a month, which I didn't believe at the time that I could do. But yeah, this was like €40. So I bought it. I was like, look, it's a nice watch. I mean, nice enough. I must, okay, not a nice watch, but like it's an acceptable watch, right? Yesterday I bought this one. It's a Tissot PRX. I feel like a lot of people do have this watch. The reason I got it is when I bought that watch, the Casio, like I said, I had like 4,000 to my name. And I said to myself, look, when I 10x my fucking net worth, when I 10x what I have in my bank account, I'm going to buy a €400 watch. And this is exactly €400. It kind of marked a bit of a milestone for me. Again, I don't usually buy like material things. I just kind of stack my money and spend it on my family, spend it on things that are hopefully going to matter in the long term more than material possessions. But because of that, I don't really ever have anything solid in place to like mark a milestone in sales or anything like that. But this is that, and it looks good. I like it. Obviously, I'm still coming for Rolexes, Richard Milles. I'm definitely going to get them in the future. But this is a milestone for me now. So because of that, long-winded way to say, I'm going to talk about my sales journey up until this point, and honestly, my kind of a little bit more about my backstory as well. Because obviously, I talk about a lot how I did an apprenticeship, but I never really speak specifically about it. I just mentioned that I did have it. So I'm going to do my story in sales up until this point. It's been probably 16 months now. I would have to guess maybe 15, 16 months. But yeah, I'm just going to talk about my story so far. Now, I'm not going to give a big mad backstory, but I'll talk about how I was in school. So up until I was about 15 in school, I was actually really good. I was, I had like natural capabilities. I was scoring good in tests. Then I didn't realize anything. I just started slacking. Like I started focusing on soccer, which I played outside of school, focusing on playing video games as well. That was a big thing for me. I was addicted to that. I say addicted, like I was like any other 15-year-old or 14-year-old. So then I started getting bad in school because I would stay up all night, either outside playing football or playing video games as well. So I would be really tired in school and I wouldn't even try on tests. Sometimes I wouldn't even fucking write anything on a test and just give back the blank piece of paper because I didn't give a fuck. By the way, not proud about this whatsoever, but this is how it actually was. Then when I hit about 17, 18, I actually started reading my own books in school rather than the curriculum. I started reading 48 Laws of Power. I started reading The Way of the Wolf, which is Jordan Belfort's sales book. What else did I read? A lot of Robert Greene, like 33 Strategies of War. I started reading meditations, general business books and money books as well. I would actually be reading them in the back of class, and I wouldn't get in trouble for that. The teachers didn't really care too much, but it reflected in my grades because obviously self-improvement books does not equal good grades. So again, not proud of that, but that's just a bit about how I was in school. Also, when I was 17, 18, that's when I started working on the weekends doing what I would lead up to do my apprenticeship in, which was security cameras and alarms. So I was installing like literally security cameras that you like if you're at home right now, you might not have a security camera, but you definitely have an alarm. So alarm systems in houses, like if you that keypad that you've got and you set the alarm when you're going to bed at night, depending on where you are in the world, because I know some people watching this are probably in some mad places. I actually never even had an alarm on my house myself. It never worked. That's what I used to do. That was the apprenticeship. But when I was 17, 18, still in school, I was doing that on weekends and I would do it during breaks as well. So I knew in my head that I wasn't going to use my leaving cert, which is essentially the final test, SATs in America. It's A levels in the UK. I knew I wasn't going to use that to go to college. I was just going to go directly for an apprenticeship doing construction, which was security cameras alarms. So boom, I finished school and I actually got good grades like in that A levels in that because I actually sat down and tried in them tests, but I still didn't get amazing grades or anything like that. Like I probably got overall like maybe 70, 80%. I'm not going to become a doctor off that. And I did try in the exams, but I just didn't study up until that point and it reflected. So now I'm in my apprenticeship after school. I come straight out and I'm literally working and not a 9 to 5, a construction job. So 10 to 12 hours a day. Now That's not like I'm breaking my back lifting bricks for 12 hours every single day, don't get me wrong. But it usually would come out to about 12 hours in terms of traveling. You know, it could be 1 hour somewhere, 1 hour back. Sometimes it would be 2 hours up, 2 hours back. Really just depended on the day. That's what I was doing. Now, sometimes it can seem like I'm coming across a little bit sour to construction and to obviously the 9 to 5, the rat race. I wouldn't say I'm sour toward it. I'm very grateful that I'm out of it because it's definitely not something that I would do for the rest of my life. But I'm also grateful that I actually went through it because number one, the actual physical work, the actual physical like going, being a man, 12 hours a day in the cold, rain, heat as well. Some days like getting shit done, it showed me how to work hard with that type of work. But also the man that I was working for was actually a very good man in my opinion, and he actually taught me a lot in terms of again working hard, having people depending on you, and we were actually pretty close in age as well. He was like 26, I was like 19, I was like 18, 19. He showed me a lot, genuinely. Like his business is obviously construction. He's probably doing well with it. I don't really speak to him anymore. He showed me a lot of things, even outside of construction, just being a man in general, how to command respect, how to basically work hard and just be truthful in all areas because that's what pays in the long term. So what I was saying, the point that I'm making there with telling that story is I'm glad I'm out of construction, but I'm very grateful that I had that period of time where I was working it. Now, at some point in March, could have been April time last year as well, I actually found some Irish guys that were doing high ticket sales. And this was the first time I ever seen high ticket sales online somewhere. So I seen Joshua Ajayi. Some of you guys watching this video probably know. I seen that he had hit in his bio that he was 20 years old and he went from 0 to 10K a month in high ticket sales in 1 year. I looked at his account and I said, I don't know what high ticket sales is, but I want to do it. So at that point, I reached out to Joshua. I told him, put me on, basically, which is what a lot of you guys will reach out and ask me. He helped me. They had Affinity Sales Training, which is their training group. It was free at the time, so it was a free Telegram. So I joined in. They were doing weekly sessions, or it could have been more than one session a week. I can't remember exactly. Got connected with Warren Mulvey as well, who was in there. So joined the first live call, got connected with Warren Mulvey in there, and just started getting a feel for the space, high ticket sales. Now, I didn't even actually mention how I found Josh's Instagram account. One day I was in the gym. I was walking into the sauna. This is actually a bit of a mad story. And Tom, I'm going to send you this video because it's still mad to this day. Walking into the sauna, there's a young fella, same age as me. He seemed about the same age. I had seen him in the gym a couple of times. He was walking into the sauna at the same time as me. And we're sitting in the sauna and we're having a little bit of a chat. And this fella taps me and he goes, right, Scout, I'm not getting out of the sauna before you get out. And at that point, my competitive instincts kick in. Now I'm sitting beside this man named Tom and we're both testing each other and we're both seeing who's actually going to get out of the sauna. While we're doing this though, and we ended up staying in for a while, I won't talk about who won. Tom, I'll leave you off today. But we're talking the whole time and he's telling me about high ticket sales. And he's telling me that he was part of this trading company. So people that were teaching trading, teaching options trading. He's selling mentorships and he was breaking down the commission that he gets. He was breaking down what he actually does to earn money on a daily basis. That was my introduction to high ticket sales. He then showed me who he was following on Instagram, who he was connected with in the space as well. That's how I found Josh. That's how I found Warren, Affinity Sales Training. He also told me to download Twitter. I literally never had Twitter before February, March last year. It actually says my account started in 2018 somehow though, so I must have logged in back then. But this is the first time I actually properly downloaded Twitter. He gave me a list of people to follow. A lot of them I still follow to this day. And I've worked with a lot of them who he gave me to follow on that day, like when I was just an anonymous account. But I did that, started getting a feel for the space, joined Affinity Sales Training. Like I said, it was a free Telegram at the time. Started attending the calls. So boom, now I'm just this guy that's trying to get into sales. I don't have a role just yet. I was actually ripping through all of the previous live calls as well. I was ripping through all of the previous content and the guest speakers that they've actually had on. And this is actually a bit of a mad story. This is how I landed my first role. Now, I didn't make any money on this role, so you'll rarely see me talking about it. I was ripping through the old content that they had recorded. There was this man named George, and he had given appointment setting training. So I was going through that. I was taking a bunch of different notes, and it was a really good video. Like, a lot of the stuff that I didn't understand about sales, that video, that live call helped me understand it then. I actually reached out to George and I just said, look, man, like really appreciate that video. I wasn't even on that live call, but it seriously helped me out. And I just said, like, absolute legend, thanks so much. I didn't even ask for anything from him. I literally just said, got a bunch of notes from that. So, like, appreciate that. And then he just hit me back and he was like, bro, I'm actually running a team right now. No one has ever reached out and actually said that. And it's pretty crazy that you did it. Then he just brought me onto that team. Terrible company. I won't even go too into detail, but it was actually an important turning point in what I was doing in terms of high ticket sales, because I had landed my first role. Now I'm not outside of the space and just trying to figure out what everybody is doing. Now I'm actually inside. I'm on a sales role, so I can speak about my experience in the space. This is when I started posting on Twitter after landing this role, because I actually have something physical to speak about. I started speaking about my daily inputs, documenting how much work I was actually putting in every single day. I would have spoken about the money that I was earning, but I wasn't earning anything on that role. But that built my Twitter account up to actually a few hundred followers, 4, 5, 600, something along the lines of that. And I had a bunch of people reaching out. Hey, bro, I'm just starting out too. I'm getting into sales. What I used with the growth on Twitter, I used the growth on Twitter to leverage getting myself into an actual company and landing an actual role. So yeah, I landed this terrible role that I wasn't going to make any money on. And I can't even remember what it was. I'm pretty sure it was lead generation or something along the lines of that. Then I started using the people that are reaching out to me for a high ticket sales role. I started directing them toward a different company who were teaching high ticket sales. I've spoken about this in a YouTube video before. One of the people that came from my account and I directed towards this sales mentor, he ended up closing on the offer for 3K. And then I got onboarded onto that sales company, into that sales mentor's team. That's where I made my first 1, 2, 3K a month. So bang, now I landed myself a DM setting, appointment setting role. And I'm literally every single day sending like 400, 500 messages and getting 10% on any deal that actually closed. Now, this role, I made my first, probably pushed a 2.5K month, I would say, at some point. But I was still attending the Irish lads' free trainings on the Telegram. So I was attending the weekly training sessions. And one of the guys, Warren Mulvey, that actually ran and still runs Affinity Sales Training, he called me one day and he offered me a closing position. So difference between DM setting and closing is DM setting, you're just speaking, you're pretending to be the influencer, essentially. And you are answering DMs that come through on their account and setting up calls with the closer. So what happens then is the lead, the person that you're speaking to through the influencer's account, they jump on a Zoom call with the closer, or it could be a phone call, and they buy whatever product it is. So now, boom, I just got a call from Warren Mulvey and he's offering me a closing position on like one of the biggest Irish fitness influencers fitness offer. And he's actually sitting there on this couch now, which is a bit of a mad story. We're here in Romania together. Cool. So now I have the DM setting role. I'm making like 2K from that. Now I'm jumping on closing calls and I'm getting 10% from that as well. And most I made from that, it was probably about 750, 1K in a month back then. Bang, now I've hit my first 3K, 3.5K month. All the while, I'm still documenting all of this on Twitter. So I'm talking about how many messages I'm sending every day, how many closing calls that I'm actually taking, how much money I've actually made in that day. I was doing that every single day. And you can check out my Twitter. It's the same as my YouTube name here. I start gaining like real traction. I start getting some posts that go to 50K, 100K, 150K views. So now like my name is popping up in the space. This led into my next offer. Again, Twitter, it's always coming back to it. And that's also why I'm pushing YouTube, because I don't know what's going to come from this. Crazy stuff came from Twitter, got me to this position. But bang, I'm making tweets, I'm documenting what I'm doing every single day. And I start getting some hate on Twitter as well. Some guys that are making real money, fair play to them, they basically started shitting on me and saying that I was broke, saying that I was putting in way too much work for how much I was getting paid. And there was this one specific time I got into a little beef. But because of that, that all blew up on Twitter. And then this man named KT Hustles, he's an Amazon FBA guy, reached out to me on Twitter and he told me, look, bro, I see that you're grinding. I see that the first plan is 5K a month. I was still at about 3K a month at this time. And he said, come work for me. You'll make more than 5K. So that's exactly what I did. In the same 2-day, 3-day period, this man, Sean, the fella that I was taking the closing calls for, calls me and he goes, bro, let's go to Marbella for a month. And for anybody watching this who doesn't know where Marbella is, It's essentially like the Miami of Europe. That's what they call it. It's the classic move to Miami, get your mindset right, figure out where the money actually is and go and get some. So now I've landed a new role where I can make upwards of 5K. To me, that was like rich. That was my first ever goal. And I made a tweet about it that I was going to make 5K and I was going to start paying my mother's mortgage. So bang, I've now got this opportunity, 5K, coming into a new clean month, September 2023. Gonna go and smash it. And I did hit my record month. I didn't hit 5K, but I hit 4.2K that September. And then I went all in on that appointment setting offer. So that wasn't the M setting. It wasn't closing either. It was on the phone. So it was SDR work. I was cold calling people that came to the influencer's account and filled out their phone number, email, and everything else. And I was trying to set them on a call with the closer, who was going to take a Zoom call and then sell them a product. But I would just make the initial contact. Hey, it's me from, you know, Amazon. I'm not going to say the actual name. So that's what I was doing. And I did that all the way up until from September up until early March of 2024. So you're talking September, October, November, December, January, February, March, 7 months, right around there. So 7 months of dialing the phone every single day, making close to 200 dials, speaking to 200 different people in a day. At that point, once again, my Twitter, and I was documenting heavy, and it just completely blew from there. And I got just like a crazy amount of views, averaged probably 1 million views for 4 or 5 months. We're back up there now as well. And we're actually still on an upward trajectory with Twitter. That's why I'm pushing YouTube. We're going sideways now. But anyways, that's besides the point. Again, Twitter, I got recommended by a mentor to reach out to a man named Devonte, who is one of the guys, that I'm working with right now. He's the guy that I directly work under. A mentor of mine, his name is Shivam. There's so many different names, but he recommended me to reach out to Devonte because he had a role open, and I did. And I applied for a role. I also commented on one of Devonte's tweets as well, and my brand carried me with that because he already followed me. He already knew who I actually was, and he was looking forward to jump on a call and have a chat with me. So bang, it was just a case of jumping on a call, basically just having a normal chat with him. He already knew what I was actually about. Again, because I was documenting every single day on Twitter, talking about the hard work that I was actually putting in, talking about how much learning I was doing in sales. So it was just a case of jumping on, getting to know him, and he plugged me right into the offer that I'm on today. It's a closing offer. I'm not going to talk about exactly what offer it is at the moment. It's a good one, and I'm making anywhere from 8 to 10K on the closing role. That's where we are today, and I've been doing that for the past, since March. That was also a bit of a crazy period, early March time. That's when I reached out to Devonte, landed this closing role, and I also spent the whole month of March in Miami. I went over to visit KT, which is who I was working for at the time, and had an amazing time with the lads as well. They definitely opened my eyes. Had like $4,000 dinners that I didn't pay for because I was broke, but obviously with the team, on yachts in Miami as well. So like in the space of literally less than a year, in the space of 8 months, I've gone from making €7 an hour on a building site carrying bricks to chilling on a boat in Miami, and I actually made like €400 that day as well. So it was very surreal. And again, it definitely opened up my mind. But even back then, I was only making about 6 to 7K. So I've jumped again since then, about 2 to 3K. Again, I'm at like 8 to 10 at the moment. Came back from Miami after March. I think I dotted around to a couple of different countries back and forth up until then. Like I went to Spain a couple of months ago. I'm in Romania now. I think there was something else in between, but I can't really remember. But anyways, now we're just on this one specific closing role. I'm taking calls directly to my calendar. They jump on Zoom calls with me, making between 8 to 10K a month. And that's my story up until now. Again, I'm definitely going to revise this. I'm definitely going to be interested to see what happens over these next few months. I feel as though there's another big jump coming. I've kind of been yo-yoing between 10K, 8K, 10K for the past few months now. So I'm planning to make some big changes, double down on learning the skills for myself. Again, double down, make more money, keep pushing record months. Right now I'm on like 2K for the month, which I'm actually not really happy with because we're nearly a week in, and the record is 10.3K that we got to beat from last month. Although I chased the record months and I chased like the added little numbers, I know that God has a plan for me, and I'm going to be pushing 20K, 25K months next year anyways, minimum. So I'm not too worried, but again, you got to be a little bit worried. You got to have a bit of fire, under your ass in order to actually push the goals. But that's my story up until now. About 16 months in, we're now at like 8, 10K a month, and we're coming for the 20K a month. That's work, man. Bro, you can't do that. I have to cut this out now. You're smiling at me like.